All right, so here we are. We're given an equation, and since we're in this section of hyperbolas, we know that that's what this is going to be. But just as you come along this equation, how would you otherwise know that it's still a hyperbola? And so let's look at the equation for a second. We've got y squared minus 2x squared minus 8x minus 2y equals 23. Notice this term right here, negative 2x squared. So there's going to be a minus x squared term, meaning that this one has to be a hyperbola because it's going to be something y squared minus something x squared. And so it's going to have to be a hyperbola, but it's opening vertically because the y is the positive of the two. So even right now, before we know any other information, we know that it's a hyperbola and we know that it's opening vertically, opening up and opening down. All right, so let's, using that, kind of having that as a little framework for us, we know it's going to look something like opening up, opening down. Let's go ahead and work our way through. And we're going to have to use, or get to use, completing the square. So let's group our terms together and kind of run from there. So we got y squared minus 2y, and then minus x squared minus 8x is equal to 23. All right, so we'll have y squared minus 2y, and then plus some blank, minus, and let's factor out a negative 2 because we want to have a positive 1 coefficient. So minus 2 times x squared plus 4x, and then again leaving that gap right there, equals 23. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. We know that it's opening up or down, up and down. And then something's going to have to get filled in here as well. So what is going to be added to each of these? We'll take half of negative 2, that's negative 1, square it, and it's plus 1, meaning if we add 1 right here, we need to add 1 over here as well. On the second one, for the x terms, we've got divided by 2 gives us positive 2, and that squared is plus 4. Now remember to make sure you multiply it by the coefficient. So this is multiplied by a negative 2, meaning we're going to subtract 8. We actually just subtracted 8 when we added 4 inside here. All right, continue on. We got the reason we did that was so we could have our perfect square, which is going to be y minus 1 squared minus 2 times x plus 2 squared is all equal to, and then 23 plus 1, that's 24, and 24 minus 8 is 16. All right, now we know that we want it equal to 1, so we're going to divide everything by 16, and that gives us y minus 1 squared over 16 minus, and what's 2 divided by 16? Well, that's going to be 1/8, so x minus 2 squared over 8 equals 1. And now we've changed it into our center form, I guess center vertex form, however you want to call that. And now we got the pieces of information that we need. So where is our center? Well, our center's at 2, 1. Our x value first, so 2, 1 is our center. That's right, this would be a plus 2. So that's going to be at negative 2, 1. Negative 2, 1. So sorry about that. That was a plus 2 right there. So negative 2, 1, there's our center. And actually, let me go and do that in red. So negative 2, 1. Now, where are our vertices? Again, we talked about this being opening up and down because y is the positive value. So our vertices are going to be up 4 from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the square root of the denominator here. And so the exact locations will be negative 2, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 2, 5 is that top one. And negative 2, negative 3 is our lower one. All right, and our would-be vertex is going to be the square root of 8. And so we've got to go out 1, 2, or sorry, the square root of 8 is somewhere between 2 and 3, so a little bit more than 2, but not quite 3. And out a little more than 2, but not quite 3. All right, and sketching our box in here. And our asymptotes as well. Now finding our equation of our asymptotes is going to be just a little bit tougher because we have this square root of 8 that we're going to be using, but just deal with it just the same way you would. Normally don't let that square root really frighten you. So let's go ahead and find our foci, and then we'll go ahead and find the equations, and then lastly we'll sketch our graph. So where are our foci going to be? Well, our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Our a and b are 16 plus 8 respectively equals c squared. And again, that's the two shorter pieces, the distance from the center to the vertex, the distance from the center to the would-be vertex, and then that our foci are going to be again along the axis of the positive denominator, or the positive fraction, so along the y here. That's 24 equals c squared, and so take the square root of 24, and that's something a little more. So c equals the square root of 24, which is something a little bit more than, more than 4, but not quite 5. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, but not quite 5. So it's just a little bit above there. And down 4, but not quite 5. So those are located at -2, x value for each of them, and -2, I'm going to write this underneath 1 plus the square root of 24, and 1 minus the square root of 24. Square root of 24. And you can simplify the square root of 24 a little bit. Let's see, 4 goes into that once, and so we're left with the square root of 4 is 2, so we get 2 root 6. And that might be a better, that's how you would see it written on a test. They'll always simplify or simplify those radicals. So 2 times the square root of 6 and minus 2 times the square root of 6. All right. Found any other information we need to find? Oh, we need to find the equation of our asymptotes. So let's clear up this space here. And we're going to have y minus the y value. So y minus 1 is equal to plus or minus the slope, and I'm going to leave that blank there for a second, times x minus the x value of the center, so minus -2 is plus 2. Notice it's just the same values we have right here, or right there even. All we need to find now is the slope, and so we can write kind of a hack job on this slope real very quickly, although we want to simplify it a little bit as well. The rise, we know the rise, that's going to be 4 over, but then the square root of 8. And that value is completely correct. If you're going to plug that into your calculator, you'd get the exact value of the slope. But let's simplify that denominator. So multiply both the top and the bottom by the square root of 8. And you could simplify the square root of 8 a little bit first, but just for speed's sake, not going to. We have 4 times the square root of 8 over 8. And then this reduces. Let's reduce this 8 now at this point. That is 2 root 2. So 2 root 2 times 4, that's 8 root 2 over 8. And 8 divided by 8 is 8. So our slope is the square root of 2. So plus or minus the square root of 2 times x plus 2. There's our equations. And now let's go ahead and sketch our hyperbola. We found all of our required information. And we are good to go. All right, hope that helped.